Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer and he is back. On popular demand, we have Sridhar Chityala ji joining us as we talk about the upcoming elections. Voting is 2 days from now, but half of America has already voted. We are going to look at some trends, how Trump won in 16, how he lost in 2020, and what does the future look like. In a couple of days, we'll know all that and more. Now let's welcome Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, Namaskaram and welcome back, sir. How are you?
Namaskaram, and thank you so much. So happy to be back on the threshold of a major global event, and very happy to discuss and cover a topic that everybody is keen to know what's going to happen, Sriji.
Yes, indeed, sir. Viewers, we have a slide deck for you and a request to all of you to please like this video. We need to give as much encouragement to Sridhar ji as possible. By way of comments, you can put in your thoughts, and this is something that might even shock you. So let's take a look at the slide deck now. Over to you, sir.
Great. So I think we are all set for one of the most pivotal elections. And the former President Trump and the current Vice President, Madam Harris, contesting who will be the next president, one seeking re-election and one trying to become the first lady president of United States. And I think everybody have given it their best shot, and we move forward and see what happens. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what we want to do is, set the context. When we say set the context here, we'll go back and look at 2016 and talk about how the former President Trump won the election. This is elections won by electoral college votes. All these opinion poll numbers that you see and percentages don't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is what percentage and how many electoral college votes gets transferred to each of the candidates. So we look at 2016, then we look at 2020, when President Trump lost the elections. And today we have some early results as at November 1st, November 2, in terms of what we call, guaranteed polling, guaranteed votes getting transferred to either party, and where we are with regard to the toss-up seats and toss-up votes and across the states. And what will it take for Madam Harris to win, and what will it take for President Trump to win? And are we in for a turmoil? I am sure that either party doesn't want to lose, so we can expect some kind of. I won't use the word what we had in 2020, but we will probably see some, protests and so on. That's what we have seen right from 2021 to 2024.
Thank you, sir. And just one line, viewers, in 2020, some of the Republican Party establishment was against Trump. In fact, they secretly, I suspect, wanted him to lose. I mean, you look at Mitch McConnell, and the guy is still there. The old coot has not still gone. I think he said he was the last Senate. I don't know if his term is ending now or he's going to serve out 2 more years. Mitch McConnell needs to go. Nancy Pelosi needs to go. These are all doddering octogenarians. Come on now, what the heck are you trying to do in there? Anyway, this is my 2 cents, sir. They are backing up the traffic for the young and aspiring politicians who want to come and make some money too. Sir, next slide.
That's exactly what happened in 2020. We'll look at the electoral college votes and we'll discuss that part.
Yes.
Yes. Now let's go back to 2016. Okay, 2016. When President Trump, against all odds, won. Okay, against Madam Hillary Clinton. She was considered, unbeatable, and former first lady, etc. So when we take a look at the number, when President Trump got 304, there are 4 major states that he won. Okay, 4 major states. One, you will see on the northern corner, right up Michigan, 16 seats. Then he won Ohio. He won Pennsylvania. And to the left of the Michigan Lake, you will see Wisconsin, he won. So 16 plus 10, 26 plus 20, 46, and he won Georgia. He won Georgia. 62. So remember this number 62 as we flip. And by the way, he retained Arizona. And he also retained, against the odds, he won Florida. Texas is guaranteed, but very important, he won Arizona. And another important state you see on the right, North Carolina, South Carolina. He won both those. Please remember those as we flip to 2020 and 2024. Okay, now we go to 2020. So when we go to 2020, from 304, he went to 232 and lost the election. That means he got almost close to 72 seats he lost from 304. Where did those 72 come from? He lost Pennsylvania. We talked about the much contested, if you go back to our DGI programs, we talked about how he lost Pennsylvania, how he lost Michigan, and how he lost Wisconsin. But he not only lost those two, but he lost two important, technically red states, Georgia and Arizona. Arizona was not losable. He lost Arizona. So that was a big, big hit for him. And that's how he lost his 62 and he gave away those seats to Biden. And it was a very big upset. He didn't concede. And there was a whole humdinger that followed after that. We covered extensively all those events, and this is considered to be one of the highest voting turn-ups, whether they were genuine, non-genuine, all history. But we had pretty close to 156 million people vote at that point of time, and former President Trump won highest number of votes ever secured by a Republican. That's close to 75 million votes. Remember that Biden got 81 million votes as well. That's very, very high number from a Democratic nominee point of view. And that's how Biden came to White House.
Sir, one small interjection here. To know why he lost it, Sridhar ji and I compiled this book. Sridhar ji underwrote the expenses. I wrote the story. We both collaborated in terms of looking and making sure that the flow was right. This was a book of fiction, but it accurately captures everything that went wrong in the 2020 election, except in a fictional way. Some of the characters may not be a one-on-one to the existing characters, but you read this book, you will understand how the Republicans lost the plot. So what did Sridhar ji and I do? This book was ready by mid-2021. In other words, 3 years before this. 3 years ago, we wrote this book. At the time of COVID, we sent this thing to many Republicans. In fact, he and I met Trump. And we gave it to some of the people at that place also. The problem is, if you want to know what went wrong, you need to read. Nahi padhoge to anpad hi rahoge. Nahi padhoge to anpad hi rahoge. This is a huge malaise that is impacting the entire world now. People don't want to read. You want to know why, if Trump loses in 2024, you will read this book, you'll understand why. Also, if you want to understand how India managed to lose 0-3 in test series to New Zealand, all you need to do is read this book. It tells you exactly what happens in cricket. 4 years ago, I wrote this book. I'm telling you, people don't need to lose sleep over India losing or winning. It's all fixed. And what is happening, it's still in the wrapper, shrink wrapper. My bestseller, Who Painted My Money White? The effect of fake money is continuing to dog India, and India still is not able to control it. Look out for tomorrow morning Rajagopalan's thing, where we are going to give you a scoop about what is going to happen about this. Just stay tuned. Why I'm saying all this is, please, viewers, you need to change some habits. The people who watch PGurus are intellectuals. You are the guys who can actually shape your children's destiny. Many are not even in that position. They are doing 2-3 jobs in a day. So at least those of you who have some time, please consider reading. You don't have to read my book. Watching that, use the next masala from Bollywood or Tollywood or Collywood or any wood. Instead, read something, because it opens your eyes to what else is happening. I'm just telling you why I'm saying this is so much effort that Sridharji and I have put in the hope that the Republican Party will understand and do course correction. Have they done it? We will know in a few days. Next slide, sir. Over to you.
Right. So we now come to 2024. When we come to 2024, we already have some headlines. As I mentioned to you, the US elections is about electoral college votes. They are not about, the vote count, how many people voted and who got more votes. By state, the number of electoral college votes gets transferred to each of the candidates. So where do we stand today? We break it into what we call broadly three groups. Clear winner, 191 seats done and dusted for Democrats, 122 seats done and dusted for the Republicans. And you will see in dark blue the number California, Oregon, and Washington State. Done and dusted. So similarly, you will see in the middle America, Nevada, North Dakota, South Dakota, Arkansas, Louisiana, all, done and dusted Republicans. Okay. Then you have what we call leaning states, the one which are more leaning towards Democrat and the ones which are more leaning towards Republican. So if you take 97 seats for Republicans, they are leaning towards Republican. Which would, you can guess Arizona, you can guess Florida, you can guess Indiana, and you can guess Ohio. Remember, Ohio, against all odds, Trump captured and he has kept it. And the vice president nominee is actually on the Trump side, is from Ohio. So you have 97 seats, bulk of the big ones, making up. And then you have 35, which includes, surprise, there's no surprise. New Mexico is leaning towards the Democrats. And then you have Maine and so on, and even Minnesota leaning towards. Remember, Minnesota is a very strong, given the amount of Democratic influence, but it's only leaning. It's not clear blue. Okay, so there's some surprise, but I don't believe there'll be a surprise in Minnesota. So to me, I think this 191 plus 35, 226 is done. I believe 190, 122 plus 97. There's some challenges for Mr. Trump, particularly in Texas. The Texas administration and the Texas governor is claiming there's close to 500,000 new electoral votes that got dumped into the state, which did not follow the normal conventional pattern of ID and recognition that Texas follows. Federal rules were applied in granting the voting rights to this about 500,000. So this is already being contested as we speak in Texas. So some hiccups one can expect, but I'm assuming that will prevail and we'll have this 122 plus 97, 219. That brings us to 93 seats or 93 electoral college votes. We have the toss-up votes, which will be determined on the day of the election. Now, if normal trends prevail, Madam Harris will become the president of the United States, if normal trends. But there is discontentment on either side, and more so on the Democratic side, because the middle or central Democrats are having some reservations the way the party is swinging. Just as you have some rhinos, which Sriji pointed out, creating some disgruntlement, notably in states like Arizona for former President Trump. So the question is, who will win Nevada, which is small, but who will win Arizona, which is a significant number? I can't read the graph, but I'll try to read from my my image. So when I look at the You can see Texas is also, no, Texas is not in that group. You will see Nevada, you will see Arizona, you will see Georgia, you will see Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Wisconsin, you will see, you will also see Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Most important, by the way, please observe, North Carolina. I asked you to keep an observation. North Carolina has become a toss-up state. Once the North and South Carolina was deep red. Now North Carolina is a toss-up. It's now becoming a kind of a toss-up state. So it's an uphill battle for President Trump to go from 219 to 270. That means he has to capture 51 electoral college votes. To capture 51 electoral college votes, he not only needs Wisconsin, which is 10, he needs Michigan, which is 15, he needs Pennsylvania, which is 19. So 19 plus 15, 34, 34 plus 10, 44. Then he needs Georgia. That takes it to about 60. Enough? No. He has to get either Nevada or Arizona or North Carolina. So he has a real battle up his sleeves. So he's no longer 3. He needs minimum 5. There's no question of any partial votes. He has to get the full state for the votes to be transferred for him to reach that magic 270 number. Okay. Whereas if you take Madam Harris, 226, all she needs is 44 votes to get to 270. She just needs the same number that she got last time, which is she wins Wisconsin, she wins Michigan, and she wins Pennsylvania. She is to the White House. Or she creates an upset in Arizona, she creates an upset in Georgia, just like last, then she needs only one of Pennsylvania or one of those other combination of the other 2 states. She goes. So she's got lots of things going for her in terms of, based on 2020 elections, based on the change in the patterns that has resulted in some of the strong red becoming leaning red and also becoming a toss-up state. So Sriji, we are in for a big kind of a debate as the election results come out on Tuesday night, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. And before we go to the next slide, again, don't think I'm going on a rant, but think 4 million Indian American voters in the United States, about 65% lean Democrat. Ask yourselves, why? Why? Do you know that today it takes 100 years to get a green card? If somebody comes in on an H1 today, it's going to take them 100 years to get a green card. Is this what the Democrats promised you? What did you get by voting for Democrats? At least with Republicans, there is some clear-cut messaging. They tell you something, they do it. I'm just telling you, I mean, it's up to you to do what you want with your vote. Maybe you don't like Trump. Maybe you don't like the Republican. But just remember, just as we tell our Indian brothers and sisters to vote with your head rather than with your heart, you may want to consider seriously what your vote is worth, especially if you happen to live in one of those swing states, because all the margins are going to be razor thin. Because the fact is, if the elections were held properly, Trump would win. No doubt about it. Today, Trump would win just as he would have won in 2020 also. The question is, what new googly is the Democratic Party going to throw? We don't know. A lot of stuff has been happening. And I have myself covered 3 or 4 incidents where there has been some improprieties noticed. So this is where things stand. Sir, next slide, please.
No, next one. This is it?
No, okay. Came back to the beginning. Next. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what will it, I said, we covered this. What will it take Harris to win? 44, we said. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin will deliver victory to her. What will it take? She also has Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada as options. Very strongly positioned despite polls. Very strongly positioned. All these polls, there's and media manipulation that is going on in the United States. she's leading by 1 point, she's leading by 2 basis points, she's down in polls. No, she's not down. Down in polls means nothing in as far as the US is concerned. What matters is in each of these battleground states, what's the polling? What's the number in Georgia? What's the number in Pennsylvania? What's the number in Michigan? What's the number in Wisconsin? Nobody wants to tell you. They only want to tell you aggregate numbers because they want to fool. Media wants to fool the world. But you give the aggregate numbers in terms of the toss-up states and leaning states, then we'll have a better picture in terms of predicting the winner. But right now, as things stand, Harris stands to gain, but she has two main disgruntled elements within her party. One is the traditional kind of Arabic Islamic groups, which have historically aligned with the Democrats, are extremely dissatisfied that the Democrats have not delivered the Palestine state. That this is something that is kind of ringing in the minds of the people. This one constituency within Democrats. The second constituency within the Democratic Party is what used to be called the center or the centrist or even center left. These groups are extremely, extremely upset that the party is being pushed and pushed and pushed to extreme left. This is why people like 𝗤𝙁 𝗲𝗵𝗏 and Mr. Kennedy quit the party because they don't believe that the party is what they represented, and especially the case of Kennedy, their ancestors represented. Next
one, please.
So what will it take for President Trump or former President Trump to come back to power? He has to defend Ohio and Florida. He has to get 51 seats. He must win a combination of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and North Carolina. Okay, you can now see, okay, let's assume he gets Ohio. Let's assume he gets Florida. Let's assume he gets Texas. He's still short of 51 electoral college votes. So to get 51, he has to get 15 in Georgia, 19 in Pennsylvania, that's 34, 10 in Michigan, 44, and then 6, I think, in Wisconsin, and then he has to get another 9 in Arizona, and then he has to also hold North Carolina. So he's got a battle up the sleeve. He probably either Arizona or North Carolina, but he has to win Georgia, he has to win Pennsylvania, he has to win big states, Michigan and Arizona, for him to have even any close proximity to make up the 270 number. Despite all hue and cry, it's a very tall order for President Trump to prevail unless there's a big swing, votes taking place, especially in the swing states, amongst these disgruntled Democrats who decide that they will vote for President Trump, cross and vote for Trump. And I know everybody knows Trump's views on Israel versus Palestine, so you're not going to get one set of constituents voting for President Trump. But if the independent and the middle Democrats or center-left Democrats say enough is enough and they decide to vote, by the way, this is what is going on. We'll cover separately Senate elections. This is what is going on in Senate. In Senate, many of the Democrats contesting in their own home states are voting and claiming Trump's policies, not the Democratic policies, to hold their positions in House or Senate.
Thank you so much, sir. Next slide, please. Sir.
Are we in for turmoil? I said, by Joe, yes. Okay, why? Well, we covered there's illegals. They're all no longer illegals. They all have work permits. They all have voting rights. We don't know what is the number. But, there's a big number between 6 to 9 million people, including DACA, which is 11 million. You really have a very big number, which the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department have successfully, parachuted using federal laws, voters into some of the critical states. So they're going to play a part. Mail-in ballot. Well, at least in a couple of states, you have seen the mail-in ballots either being burnt or the mail-in ballots being trashed. These are the what they call as the mail drop ballots. And so what kind of chaos that is going to cause in the end when there are marginal results, we will not know. We'll soon know. Then you have the voter ID chaos. For example, I and my son voted in the state of New York. We just had to give our surname. There's no ID. We voted. Okay, so I don't know what kind of other patterns are followed in other states. So whether there's any ID asked or not, we don't know. So therefore, the voter ID is Texas is going to be, some of the red states are going to be fairly ruthless about it, but whether they can prevail, time will tell. Then we have, as we discussed, 75 or 74 plus million votes, which is almost 50% of the votes cast in the 2020 elections now already in. Now, Republican pundits predict early votes, both from Republicans and the Democrats, indicate if the early voting is not great news for President Trump. This is the pundits from their own party. Also, a significant number of people who have cast their vote are young voters. Young voters have already cast their franchise. Typically, the young voters belong to the Democratic Party. So my kind of observation, Sriji, is it's a tall and uphill battle unless middle Democrats rebel and swing their votes towards President Trump.
All those machinations come down to this now, viewers, and also those of you who tend to sit this one out, please don't. Especially Indian Americans, somehow there is this feeling that it doesn't matter who comes to power, neither the Democrats like us nor the Republicans like us. Right now, if you let the Democrats come back, what we went through in California, you'll start seeing it across the country. Caste-based discrimination, there is nothing like that. Yet somebody wants to rake it up. Why? Because there are problems with the success of Indian Americans in the United States. Look at the number of Fortune 500 companies. How many CEOs are Indian American? Suddenly, the top space in the C-suite is being occupied by somebody who may or may not be willing to play the game that people play. All sorts of stuff. You and I don't even know 10% or even less than that of what kind of thought process goes into all these things. Why should everybody be from Harvard to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company? What is this old boys network? Why are more deals done on the golf course than in Manhattan in meeting rooms? Ask yourself all these questions. All that stuff, right? You need to step a little bit away and look at things. Like my association with Sridharji in the last 5-6 years opened my eyes to the other side. I was dried wool copied, whatever you want to call, like true Democrat, true blue, until something happened in 2016. I said, wait a minute, there is something wrong here. Then all sorts of things came out once Trump won, because Trump wasn't believing that he was going to win. Sridharji, you want to talk about what happened on 2016? Results were coming out. They were clearing their desks in the campaign rooms of Trump administration. They didn't even expect to win.
Exactly.
That is how strong a candidate. Yeah, that's how strong a candidate Hillary Clinton was, and yet he won. How? Because the voters in Michigan and Wisconsin said enough.
Indeed.
This is, yeah, sir. Go ahead, sir.
No, I just wanted to add one point. Already, T-shirts were printed with Hillary Clinton as the president of United States in 2016. He just couldn't accept the result, but the Middle America. This is the thing. The Middle America said enough is enough, and they gave a person who is what we call non-traditional DC circuit, an opportunity to what we call cleanse the dump, but it didn't happen. and Hillary didn't come. Trump came, and he tried to clear the swamp, and you saw what happened. The Republican Party rebelled, and 2020 was a disaster. Having had 2016, I mean, during his period, you cannot blame anything on his presidency. No war, crimes had come down, there was no border issue, people were going back, the deficit had been brought down, the economy was on the ramp up until COVID came. The economy was on the upswing until COVID came. And then the whole world turned bellwether at that point of time. And today, what you see are almost 3 wars going on right now as we speak, going into this election. And much to change depending on the course that we are going to see in the next 2 to 3 days, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. Sridharji, I would like to invite you back on Tuesday as the results start coming out. I don't know if you're, I'm sure you're going to be up. So I'm going to have a session starting at probably 6 p.m. Pacific, which will be 6:30 a.m. for India and 9 p.m. for East Coast. As the early returns start coming in about 1.5 to 2 hours, we'll know the result. I'd love to have you here. And I'm going to bring in a few more people. We can just come in and go out. You don't have to be there all the time. We can just look at the numbers. We can analyze the trends and things like that. We don't think that the final result will come on that day because of what we talked about, all these illegal ballot votes. Republicans are not going to just go down fighting. They are going to put up a lot of fights. There will be a lot of challenges in different courts as things play through. It's not going to be as easy as 2020, where there was a fear of COVID going around. This time, I think the Republicans will fight it. It's going to be not so easy. And if the Democrats are losing, they might do the same thing too. So clearly, where is America? Aren't we supposed to be serving our country? That has somehow got lost in this whole process. That is my big regret. This country was built from immigrants. It was built out of hard work, and that there was a good law and order in place. Even today, the judiciary is pretty decent, but you have to give the right case to them. And this is where things stand. Would I be disappointed if Kamala Harris comes? I guess not, because the problems that are facing the nations are quite high, and Trump might be able to get to it faster than Kamala Harris. But other than that, I don't know. America's decline has begun. Now you can go back and see that it probably began some years ago, probably in Obama's time, and we just are now seeing it. And this is just my 2 cents. Sridharji, I don't want to sound pessimistic or optimistic. I'm just realistic. I'm in the middle, watching this side and that side, and I'm seeing that, okay, America as a country is not what it was 15 years ago. Your final thoughts, sir, and then we can come back on Tuesday and talk about it again.
No, I think it's a great summary. We have seen Obama 1. We have seen Obama 2. If Madam Harris comes back, we will see Obama 3. And those who are mired in kind of illusion, please study the transition team, the campaign team, as well as some of the people who quit Biden and now have joined Harris. All are ex-Obama, transitioning from 1 to now to 3. So effectively, you're going to see exactly similar policies, or even more towards the progressive left. The question that is being asked by many in the business circles is whether the famous Caucus 4, which originally started the progressive left as the understudy of Bernie Sanders, whether they will be able to persuade and push Madam Harris to even further left, or she will have a backbone and say, no, now I'm the president, and therefore I need to look at things more objectively rather than taking the adversarial position. I don't know whether you all remember that she, at that point of time, the external affairs minister, he still was external, Mr. Jaishankar, refused to meet 4 important people from the House caucus, and Madam Harris was one of them.
Well, that's the parting thought for you. Not good for India if the Democrats come back. Perhaps, okay, the Republicans come back. Remember, it's not Trump or Harris which decides policy. It is decided more by the Department of Defense and Department of State. Department of Defense, I think we are a little bit certain about how they think. Department of State, no chance. That's where things stand. Thank you so much, viewers. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And please give a big reception to Sridhar ji by way of giving comments. And we'll be back again. Sridhar ji, if something breaks between now and Tuesday, please let me know, sir. And we might be able to squeeze in another program also. I have absolutely no problems. This is important because this is going to decide the destiny of the world, not just the country.
World. Very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
I'll leave you with one parting thought. I just saw this message on social media. Today, the funding for Islamists is not coming from the Middle East. It is coming from the West. They have billions. They made billions in the last few years. The Islamists are now completely ensconced in the West, particularly in United States of America. And they can continue this revolution of Iran for as long as they want. Because each one stands to gain. If you sell arms, they stand to gain. If you do something else, choke oil, somebody stands to gain. All these lobbies are standing to gain. So it's not going to be an easy battle, even if Trump comes to power. But somebody who is strong-willed is what is needed as the president. That question, ask yourself before you cast your vote. Who is the strong-willed candidate among the two? Thanks for watching again. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. And we'll be back very soon.